Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit, and welcome to another game from PAX East. Let's have a gander at Rise and Shine. Not, in fact, some sort of breakfast-themed game. This is one of the most gorgeous-looking, side-scrolling action games you ever will see. And pay no attention to the tutorial when I say that. This is not the good-looking bit. Trust me, they did this on purpose. This is by Super Awesome Hyperdimensional Mega Team. Yes, you probably haven't heard of them. They made a game called Pro Zombie Soccer, which is not exactly, I think, a game that many people know. But this, well, this might very well be their breakout hit, because while you're probably not impressed by what's going on the screen right now, you certainly will be once we get into the game and I show you the level of detail going on with the models and the background. So as you probably noticed, this is a side-scrolling action game focused very much on gunplay. And the gun is a great way to solve problems, and you'll get different kinds of ammunition to do so, which what I like to call dexterity-focused puzzles. This notion that you have to solve a puzzle with violence, but it requires a great deal of precision, it requires timing, it's of course in real time, and all that sort of thing. Now, what else might very much surprise you about this game, or certainly set it out from the pack? 'Cause you're probably looking at it and thinking, oh god, great, side-scrolling action game, we don't have enough of those, right? Well, this, Game Earth, well, this game is, in fact, based on a planet where all the video game characters live in harmony, for whatever reason. So you're going to see massive amounts of references and characters from different games all showing up on Game Earth, in different forms, of course. You're playing Rise, this kid, and eventually you will learn what Shine is. And you will notice the tragic slaughter of many video game characters, including that Space Invader. Also, look at this robot. Because, what a design. I mean, not only does the background look great, but that, I mean, that is one of the most colorful and well-drawn and high-resolution 2D characters I've ever seen in a game. You know, there have been a few games over the past few years that have really demonstrated what you can do with incredibly high-quality 2D art, but this game has some mind-blowing two-dimensional art. Now, as we go into the mall here, this should explain exactly what's going on. Note just the video game references absolutely everywhere. On the walls, in the background, even with the characters you're engaging with. I'm going to take cover here. And this kind of Space Marine guy gets shot by a curiously familiar-looking fellow who then gets, you know, through and through the stomach, which is a little bit unfortunate. The legendary hero, as his name is, of course, a big reference to Link from the Zelda series. And, well, you get his gun. The name of his gun is Shine, so ergo the title Rise and Shine. And so far, I was thinking, well, I mean, this is cute with the references and things like that, but what about the rest of the game? Well, it's published by Adult Swim. Now, usually the publisher isn't really relevant to the style of game that we get, with a few exceptions, you know. Paradox publishes a great deal of grand strategy games and things like that, although they've also been known to publish third-party titles that are different genres. EA tends to publish a huge amount of AAA games, as you might imagine. Now, Adult Swim has taken to publishing a lot of difficult games. I don't know if you've noticed that, but if you look back through the games that Adult Swim has actually published, then you will see games like Super House of Dead Ninjas, which is a very challenging and difficult game. You will note upcoming things like Death's Gambit, which is kind of a 2D Souls-like game. And of course, they published stuff like Paranormal Activity, which is very difficult, and all sorts of things like that. They, right now, appear to be focused on publishing difficult games, and I've showed you a number already, and I'm going to show you more from PAX East, because I was able to play 6 games there from Adult Swim, and most of them were quite challenging. This being one of them. You die very, very fast in this game. There is a cover system, because, of course, bullets are fairly lethal, as are these leaping landmines over here. You've got a little bit of a jet boost, which you can use. You can also use a dash to get through, but, of course, problems are generally solved by guns in this game. And so far, we've just got a regular run-of-the-mill weapon. Although the game encourages you, or indeed forces you, to be somewhat static with the weapon. You know, you're a little kid. You're not going to be running and gunning too much. You've got to take your weapon out, which we use the controller button for, and then you have to fire it after aiming it with the right stick. Now, I assume this is going to be mouse-aimed otherwise. Now, we're able to grab a little upgrade there, which, trust me, you kind of need. The laser sight is very useful because, frankly, aiming in this game requires a great deal of precision, and simply because of how easily you can die, you have got to aim incredibly accurately and quickly. So, more of a precision shooter than a spam fest in which you just sort of shoot in the vague direction of the enemy. You've got to aim pretty carefully. Early on, of course, it's a 6-shooter as well, so you're going to have to be reloading, which is going to leave you a little bit vulnerable, but you can acquire extra ammunition, which will increase the size of your magazine as you go on through the game, which makes the gun a little bit easier to shoot. So far, so relatively standard, you say, right? It's like, yeah, this is a pretty looking game, absolutely, and the video game references are kind of neat, but you know, what's so special about it other than the fact that it's obviously very, very hard? Well, I can tell you, I can show you, in fact. I'm going to skip forward to show you one of the really cool ammunition types that you get. I was mentioning earlier about this sort of dexterous puzzle solving, this real-time puzzle solving through shooting things. Well, in this case, the first ammunition type you get is a remote-controlled or RC bullet. Now, you are able to fly it near anything that's a radio emitter, for God knows what reason. I guess you hijack it or whatever. And then you can control the bullet, which will allow you to hit the target. Now, this can be used to go over cover. Once you hit the button as it's flying, it will cause it to accelerate forward from its position. So you can even hit things outside of the range of those little remote control broadcast units or whatever they are. I don't know what they are. They're video gamey. You know, it's a video gamey world. It kind of makes sense. And you can use this not only to kill enemies, but also to snipe key points, to open doors, to flip switches, to break things in order to advance forward. Speaking of advancing forward, probably time to run through that minefield there, and down goes somebody. But, of course, we can use our remote-controlled bullet to miss horribly there. I had a slight difficulty distinguishing that area from the background there. They might want to do a little bit more, and as I look through the footage, it looks a little more obvious, but it's so similar to the background that you think, oh, that's actually a piece of the background. The only clue really that it's not is that it's moving. Now, this turret ain't messing around. It's got a shield which can deflect my regular bullets, and it can shoot down the RC bullets if it sees them. So, really, this is a little puzzle in which you do not get shot to pieces. This is, in fact, a little puzzle, and you might be thinking, well, how do you solve this issue? Do you shoot it in the back? Well, I mean, notice what's hovering directly above it, attached by a rather tenuous-looking piece of cable. Because that doesn't work. But what about if we just dropped the car on it? That would probably do the trick, wouldn't it? I'll get around, there we go, and hello, and goodbye. What's interesting about this game is the fragility of your character. You have the power of respawning, which of course is basically a superpower in a video game world. But you die in one hit, pretty much. So you are very, very fragile, and you have to preserve yourself through cunning for the most part, and of course by using cover as well. So I use my remote control bullet here, and you'll notice the fall off as it gets outside of the RC area. But then I get gunned down by that giant sort of Gears of War style Space Marine fellow. So it's definitely challenging, it's definitely tricky, and while it appears to be about your shooting skill, it's really more about using your wits and using the right ammunition type. And in some situations you don't die in one hit, but most of the hazards tend to kill you in one hit. You can pop out of cover very rapidly and just throw a bunch of bullets in that general direction. It's also a rather violent game, as you've probably noticed. I like the little soul that flies off there. I wonder if there's a storyline element tied into that, or if it's just a little cute nod to things. I don't know why there are rolling barrels, but I guess since it's a video game world, you can justify them being there. There goes me head. Not an easy game, really, no doubt about that. But I gotta say, like, it's absolutely beautiful. The amount of detail that's been crammed into the backdrops is incredible. The amount of little references to video games, the skill involved in the combat, and the different kinds of ammo that are available. Within the demo, I think I tried 2 or 3 different kinds of ammo. The next one, I think, was a sort of Tesla ammunition that could actually be used to power up an area. And that involved doing a mini-boss fight while also powering up this little unit by firing Tesla bullets at it, which was, again, very much a test of dexterity and skill. You had to be incredibly quick to do that properly. But it's no surprise. It's a platformer. I'm terrible at platformers, so it's the case of not rushing things. Just very slowly advancing there. And of course, you notice how useful getting those extra bullets are. You know, let's just get past this bit. This is embarrassing. bloody polygon level shooting there. We're gonna have to be careful. Now, I like this little sequence. You are able to use the RC 1, 2, and 3, and then you sort of aim so the bullet drop connects directly with his head, which I thought was pretty neat. Somehow I managed to nail that one first time, despite failing the little barrel sequence multiple times, which was in itself a little bit strange. And I head on through there, and we'll get ourselves a new ammo type, which is hovering in the middle of the street right there, because of course it is. It's a video game world. We're just going to check over here first, though, because these chests usually contain ammunition upgrades, which increase the size of your available ammunition before you have to reload. I wouldn't call it a magazine, because it's technically a revolver. However, we now have some nice new bullets. These screw with machines and also with robot enemies. So if you hit a turret in the back with one of these, it might electrify it. Or, of course, you can try and power up this area. And, oh yeah, there's a giant tank in the background. More than a little Metal Slug inspiration, I think, to be found there. So what you have to do here is you've got to repeatedly charge the power so it will let you through the door, all the while dodging the shells of the giant tank in the background that you can't actually kill. Pretty rough, right? This is a sequence I like to call TotalBiscuit can't hit the side of a barn door, because apparently he cannot. I will make one excuse for myself, and I will say, look, I'm not that used to using controllers for aiming. With a mouse and keyboard, I'm sure this would be significantly easier. There you go, that's my excuse. It is clearly the controller's fault, or something along those lines. I promise we do actually get through here, though. It just takes a little bit of work. It's a cool little mini-boss sequence, actually. The idea that you don't actually kill the boss. You're literally just trying to escape from it and get into the bunker. So it's a nice little twist rather than just fighting the damn thing. And I will say that the game's sense of fragility even carries into the way that these sequences are designed. It's not just a case of you die instantly. It's like, dude, you're a little boy with a tiny little gun. How on earth are you going to fight this giant tank? The answer is you're not. In fact, here are the remaining characters of the video game world that are not quite dead yet. And here's the little exposition that explains the whole respawning power and all sorts of things like that. The storyline of the game, as you can see here, probably, if you pause, I was skipping through this quite quickly because I had very little time on the show floor to cover all these games, is that you're looking for the ultimate weapon. If you go to the king will show you where the ultimate weapon is, and you'll be able to use that to clean out the space grunts. And, of course, they send along a brave and noble warrior to fight with you, because, of course, you're a tiny little kid. What are you going to do, right? Great question. But he'll help you out on your quest. No problem whatsoever. I cannot imagine anything possibly going wrong. I mean, as he says, he has a mega laser attack. What could possibly go wrong? There you go, folks. Rise and Shine, upcoming action platformer by Super Mega Awesome Team, and it looks like it may very well have legs. That guy doesn't anymore. Well, he does, technically, but they're just over there somewhat. Thank you very much for watching, folks. Please feel free to check out our other PAX coverage, and I'll see you next time.